From the Skyterra Wellness Retreat, this is the Inspired Intentions Podcast, where we help people build the skills and mindset to live a healthy life. Hey everyone, before we dive into today's episode, if you've been enjoying our podcast, take a moment to rate and review. It may seem like a small thing, but our ratings and reviews make a huge difference in the quality of our show. They help us reach more listeners like you so we can continue bringing you more amazing content. So, if you've found inspiration, learned something new, or just love tuning in every week, please rate the Inspired Intentions Podcast 5 stars and leave us a review and even share with a friend. We truly appreciate each and every one of you. Now let's get into the show. Inspired Intentions listeners, welcome back to part number 2. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you should go listen to part number 1. We are starting the new year with a series all about how to live forever. And we released part 1 last week with our fitness director, Ryan. And that part 1 is all about movement and its role on longevity and how to live forever. And it's no surprise that we are moving directly into nutrition for part number 2. And I have a new podcast guest on with me today to talk about nutrition. Jeannie Boyer, our registered dietitian here at Skyterra. And Jeannie is joining us to talk to us all about nutrition and its role in longevity and how to live forever. I think it's pretty cool. Welcome, Jeannie.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Being that this is your first time on the podcast, I'd love for you to introduce yourself a little bit to everybody and give them your background.
Sure. I've been a registered dietitian for 20 years, a little over. I got there by thinking I was going to be a chef and loving food.
Yeah.
And then thought the smart thing to do was go to college. And then, let's study nutrition, and then became a dietitian. So I love learning about nutrition, but really the application with food gets me very excited.
Got to have a love for food, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have a pretty strong opinion on that nutrition can help somebody live longer, help them live a more fulfilled life. Is that a fair statement? We were talking a little bit before we got on here.
Totally fair. I feel like my answer can be really short when somebody's like, well, how can nutrition help me? I'm like, it is the help. It is the power that we have to control how we feel, and like genetics. There's genetics that can be turned off and on, turned up and down with the foods that we eat.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot to this. I'd love to kind of start getting into the nitty-gritty of it. In your opinion, how does nutrition actually help promote longevity? I know you said it's a really simple answer sometimes, but what is the finite point to this? Why is nutrition a part of our conversation today?
I think it could get very detailed, a complicated question, but what I think is amazing and very motivating when it comes to nutrition is that we have that power. We can eat in certain ways to promote our longevity and promote our energy levels as we age to continue to feel good.
Absolutely. And as far as like this idea of what your diet should be, what nutrition should look like, what are some of those key components so that somebody can live forever or live a longer, healthier life?
I think it's easy to get distracted by media and trends and this diet or this supplement, but continue to read the research, and it's amazing that it always comes back to variety of plants, lean meats, healthy fats. Plants, meats, healthy fats. Like, it's over and over again. That's what I read and what I see become effective in people. Like, if you are eating a variety of plants, a colorful plate, you're eating chicken, fish, healthy fats, nuts, avocados, you're getting all these great elements that are helping your body and your cells live better, live longer.
So you're kind of saying that seemingly always that the trend is it goes away from that type of thing, like, there is a thing that's better than this, and then ends up back in that place.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
And you've been doing this for a while. You've seen
Right.
seen this happen in the past 20 years.
Right. Like we get into a big mode of, everybody, we can go back to the fat-free world, like where Snackwells, cookies, and fake butters and no oil and all of this stuff. And now we're back to, no, we need some fats. You need your nuts. You need your avocados. It's helping your brain. It's helping your skin. So it's interesting. We'll get trends. We'll get specific foods that are, everyone eat cauliflower, for instance. But then it comes back to, no, we need a variety of plants. They all feed different elements of our body.
And that's what I was going to ask. Like, why those things? Why are those few things important? Like, what are those doing for our body that helps us or aids us?
We could have a whole nother podcast on plants and the gut.
Yeah.
But different plants are feeding different gut bacteria. And those bacteria, their waste, technically, like what they produce is helping the gut lining be healthy, reduce inflammation, increase immune function, and actually affects our moods, behaviors, like thoughts and actions with the plants that we eat. Like blows my mind. But we need to feed, there's a ton of bacteria in there. So we've got to feed those different strains and they all like something different. So we need different plants in our diet. Protein, I think it's the star lately in nutrition. So protein, it's going to, of course, muscle. But I like to say protein's not just meat and muscle.
Yeah.
Because it also is building cell walls, enzymes, hormones, sending signals, making reactions happen in your body. And then fats for your brain, for your skin health.
Brain's
immunity.
a big one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's kind of cool. Like my dog just eats the same food every day, but we need and we get to eat such a variety of cool foods.
Yeah, we were kind of talking about that before we got on here. Like there is, now more than ever, there is availability for whatever type of food you would like at any given time.
Right. It's January and I can go get a kiwi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like our grocery stores are always loaded. I mean, it wasn't terribly long ago that we couldn't get certain things certain times of year. They were a treat.
Right.
Like
I feel like my dad talked about getting a pineapple at Christmas and being amazed and excited.
Yeah, it was like oranges. That's what it was for one of my relatives. Same thing. They used to give out oranges at like Halloween.
Oh yeah.
And that was like none of the kids liked it, but that was like what they did because it used to be such a treat to them. Mm-hmm. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing what we can get.
So tell me a little bit more about this idea of like gut health, because it is like protein to me, whereas it's like a topic that's talked about a lot right now. I feel like gut health is also talked a lot about, and it's purely fueled by your nutrition and what you eat. Right.
There's I actually teach a class here at Skyterra, like the gut-brain connection. And I think knowing how connected your gut is to your brain is motivating to make better food decisions. But the gut, and by saying that, I mean like intestines. So your large intestines, small intestines, that's where nutrition happens, like where the food is processed, where vitamins are sent out to do their job. But also the gut bacteria live there. They process that food. So probiotics is the bacteria. Prebiotics are the food that we give that bacteria. And postbiotics are like short-chain fatty acids and actual hormones that function in our body, help our brains, our moods, our behaviors, our actions. So having gut health impacts everything, your thoughts, but also inflammation, immunity, all of that. It's just amazing to me, like this power, like I said earlier, that we have in what we eat. Like it can affect not only like our energy levels and our muscle mass, but our mood.
What are some of the things that you've seen when somebody's like their nutrition has affected their gut health? Like what are some of the, we're talking about the positives, but what do we see on the opposite side when things aren't going right?
So depression can happen, inflammation. So if we have, there's a circle picture I show in class. If we have a negative emotion, let's say that's depression or anger or anxiety, our gut reacts with either slowing down or speeding up. So then food is sitting there too long or it's moving too fast. And that can cause it to seep out of the gut lining. So then we have inflammation in our body, which could look like irritable bowel syndrome or achiness, bloating, lethargy.
Acid reflux?
Acid reflux is a big one. Well, guess what? When you're dealing with that, diarrhea, constipation, acid reflux, inflammation, like you don't feel good.
Right.
And so then the cycle starts all over again. The brain can affect the gut. So if you're feeling nervous, for instance, you have butterflies in your stomach, but the gut can affect the brain. If you're having diarrhea, constipation, poor vitamin absorption, you're going to feel tired or irritable or like that. So we have power both ways in our thoughts and our food.
And I can imagine, as far as living forever and this idea of longevity, like if those types of things are things that you're dealing with on a constant basis, they can have long-term negative side effects, I'm sure.
For sure. But what's cool is you can change your gut microbiome with your diet in 2 to 5 days.
What?
Yeah. So I've seen it.
Yeah, walk me through that.
So I've seen it here, where a guest will come and they show up on a Sunday, and Tuesday or Wednesday they're like, I feel really good and so different, and bowel habits are better, and that's just in 2.5 days of a different diet.
Yeah, Sunday to Wednesday, Thursday. Okay.
But yeah, you're just giving that bacteria, that the healthy bacteria, the food it needs to thrive, and you know how quickly bacteria can grow.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can. So there's a good example is like vacation. We just got off of the holidays. I personally did not eat like I should or like I would normally.
Yeah, me either. Went a little overboard,
right?
For sure.
I didn't feel too great, but 2 days later, after getting back on track, it's like, oh yeah, here's my normal. I feel better. So I like to point that out because a lot of times we get really down on ourselves for making a bad decision or eating poorly on vacation.
Yeah.
But you've got how many more meals left in your life? Like you can choose different.
And you should always enjoy food.
And there's that.
And like there is that enjoyment level and that connectivity to it as well. I think that's really important. Like you got to splurge every once in a while.
For sure. Yep.
Yeah. What, as far as like the connectivity to it as kind of a leeway into this idea of mindfulness around food and your actual connectivity to what your eyes are seeing in front of your plate. What's your perspective on that? How do we incorporate that at Skyterra? Why is that a part of longevity?
I think mindfulness, I like to call it just awareness sometimes, because I love mindfulness, but for me to think and apply it, awareness helps me think through it better.
Yeah.
When we are more connected and aware, we're calmer. We actually do digest food better. When we are mindful and aware, we don't have cortisol flowing. We're not stressed usually. So our blood sugars are better. But just being mindful, we absorb food better, we enjoy the process better, and we make better choices.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm running through my day and like cooking dinner and eating and checking my email, like I don't know what I ate, or I didn't really think about it. But if I was like, oh, this is my chance to fuel my body to feed myself best, I'm probably going to take more time to prepare the meal and take time to enjoy it. So I enjoyed the meal, but I also like calmed my body and gave it a chance to rest and digest.
I personally get better fullness and hunger, kind of a scale for me when I slow down and I'm, I guess, more aware.
Gosh, for sure. And I see, here at Skyterra with these shared meal times, you have time to sit. You're not here and thinking of work or thinking of your to-do list or the laundry. And so that also goes back to better digestion and awareness of your choices and your satisfaction, like you said, your hunger and fullness.
And what Jeannie means by that is, for anyone that hasn't been here, there's a big dining room. There's 4 very long tables that are kind of spaced out within that dining room, and we have 3 meals a day in that dining room that you have the option to go sit down and have with other guests or people that you come with. And I do think it really it sets a very specific mealtime, but it also sets a pace, I think is what.
Yep.
Yeah.
And all of your senses. I think it's easy to eat so fast and just disconnected that you don't recognize how the food smells or how it looks on the plate or how beautiful it is out the window or the sounds around you. But in this dining room, I think you've got this beautiful view. There's a fireplace. There's conversation. There's this beautiful, colorful plate in front of you. And you have the opportunity to take note of all of that and appreciate it all.
And is that something you also educate on here at Skyterra?
Yeah, we have a mindful eating experience, which I always think is so much fun.
What is that?
So we'll talk about these 7 elements or pillars of mindful eating, where it came from, the idea, and then I'll bring in a few things from the kitchen, and we'll all take a moment and take that 1 bite or 2 bites, and then discuss what we noticed that maybe we haven't noticed before, or how it felt.
Yeah.
And it's motivating. I do it in this class, but then for the next couple of days, I'm like, oh yeah, I need to take a minute and smell and appreciate and be here in this moment with this food that is nourishing my whole self.
What other classes do you use to educate on this?
There's intuitive eating, which is actually a more defined style of eating.
Okay.
So we'll do that sometimes. There's also sometimes opportunities for silent meals, just to kind of see what you notice when you're not talking with other people. And there's a small group meal time that we do sometimes with the Lose Smart guests, which is interesting because we're all in conversation in a smaller room around the food, and we notice more of what we're eating.
And that's with the 4-week Lose Smart program. That's something you guys do weekly?
Yep.
Nice. Yep. And that's really cool. It sounds like those Lose Smart guests are taking home actionable things with them that they're practicing while they're here to really help with their overall health and lifespan through nutrition, through the Skyterra's nutrition education. What are some small changes our listeners could make that some of those Lose Smart guests are getting in these classes with you and our regular guests as well? I
do love to see, as people go through, how excited they are to apply this at home and realize that it can be easy. But I think something that's easy to remember and think about is just variety. So the more variety you can get in your diet overall, the better, because you're feeding all those good bacteria and you're giving yourself all the different elements of nutrition. So a good goal, which is from a book I love, is 30 different plants per week. And that,
interesting.
It sounds like a lot.
It does.
But herbs and spices count.
Oh, okay.
So if I made a spaghetti sauce and was garlic, onions, tomatoes, black pepper, basil, thyme, maybe some oregano. Well, there's 7 plants right there. And then I had an apple and I had a whole grain toast in that day. So there's 9. So in not even a full day, I've got 9 different plants. So it's kind of fun. Of course, I'm like nutrition, so it's fun for me.
Yeah,
but
and it sounds like you like to cook too.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's fun to kind of think about just 30 different plants a week. That really gives you the variety of vitamins, so you're not missing out. And a lot of them work well together. So if you're having spinach and you have strawberries, you're getting iron from spinach and you're getting vitamin C from strawberries, so you absorb that iron. So variety not only is feeding good bacteria, but it's helping you absorb the vitamins better. The other thing I would say is look at your protein. There's a lot of media and research that says Americans get plenty and more than what we need. But the research, like how that need is determined, is old. And it was more based on to prevent deficiencies instead of longevity or feeling well or aging well. So I would say look at your protein. Are you getting enough? Is it present in every meal?
Because Ryan talks a lot about muscle mass, especially as we age, longevity, and your nutrition side of things plays a huge role in that. And as we get older, it's just harder and harder to hold on to muscle mass and even harder and harder to build it, right?
For sure. It's harder to build muscle. Often we don't feel as we age like we should go lift weights in the gym, and Ryan may have said this before, but I love it when I see older folks in the gym lifting weights for that longevity. But we also tend to not want as much protein, or just have a desire for meat as we age, especially women. So just to be aware of that. Are you getting enough protein? Are you getting a variety of sources of protein and all those beautiful plants?
Nice. What else?
Plants, herbs, spices, protein, healthy fats.
It seems like
over
it always comes back to it. It's just a circle, right?
Right.
So we've talked a lot about food as part of this nutrition and Skyterra's philosophy on longevity. What role does, as you take a drink, what role does hydration play?
It's helping us move food through our bodies. It's helping us, again, absorb the vitamins. But as we age, our thirst triggers decrease, so we don't feel as thirsty or don't think to drink as often, yet our need is still there. So something to be aware of, and maybe something you can practice or look at in your day, is how are you reminding yourself to drink? Because in my career, working in hospitals a little bit, over and over again, I would see women with UTIs because they weren't getting enough to drink. They don't get enough fluids. They get a UTI. They have altered mental state. They're in the hospital. But all that it takes to fix that is drink your water. And you have a huge bottle next to you. I have a big bottle next to me. There's so many different ways to help yourself, whether it's, Alan has a clear one so he can see how much he's drank. I have one with stickers all over it because I like to look at it. But you could flavor it. There's all these infusions that we do here that are always tasty.
Yeah, the kitchen does a great job with those.
And they're exciting because they're different every day. And I love a straw because there's something about lifting a bottle or a cup to our mouths that is just too difficult. But if we have a straw, you're guaranteed to drink more.
Yeah, this is definitely one of my things that I've been working on 2025 is to make sure that I'm getting better hydration. Actually, specifically for nutrient absorption, and this clear 50-ounce bottle holds me accountable every single day.
Yeah.
It's orange, y'all, but it is you can see exactly how much I have to go every day. I try and crush one of these like before 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I think you're 35% done.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
I think I just thought of this because I have a tea bag in my water. Like, hey, that's another plant. That's another herb. Another great way to get some antioxidants in your diet and flavor your water so you drink more.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you recommend diversifying that as much as you recommend diversifying your nutritional...
Like diversifying your fluids?
Yeah.
There's great things about coffee. Polyphenols, antioxidants, tannins. So it's a great thing to drink, and everyone has their different caffeine sensitivities, but a lot of the research shows that like 3 and 4 cups a day is good for us. Interesting. Teas, like tea, the plant itself is great, but there's all kinds of herbal teas. another way to get variety of flavor in your water, because sometimes people don't want to drink water because it has no flavor. That would be the 3 that have like great health properties to include in your diet. We could have a whole nother podcast about other beverages,
juices and other,
yeah,
absolutely. I think that's a pretty good, well-rounded perspective on a lot of what we educate here at Skyterra as far as nutrition and its link to longevity and this idea of how to live forever. If you had to give our listeners, because you've already given them a bunch, but maybe just bring together all of it in one place. What are the main things, what are the actionable steps that our listeners can kind of take today that will help them with this nutritional side of longevity?
So I might start with not an action, but kind of a mindset.
Okay.
So I think as we age, and I'm just going to use myself, for instance, when I was single and young and like had time in the kitchen, I took that time. I'd go to farmers markets. I would cook great, cool things. Then as a mom, it's like, okay, I'm just going to throw this in my mouth and keep going.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see like my parents and my in-laws kind of, maybe we'll just make a sandwich, or we'll just go out to dinner, or we'll just grab a biscuit in the morning. So I think as we age, like taking care of ourselves through nutrition goes by the wayside. But again, what I said at the beginning, like we have power over our health and our longevity through food. So you're still living, like your body's still working. Like let's live to the fullest and feel the best we can. And that's going to be through your food choices. So the basics, fruits and vegetables. Like there's a quote I read recently, like I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get to the end of my life and be like, man, I ate all those fruits and vegetables. So it's easy. It's
probably not.
It's easy. Eat your fruits and vegetables. Include those healthy fats, walnuts, avocados, ground flax seeds, olive oil, healthy fish like tuna, and get some lean protein and move.
Diversify. I think one way that we kind of talk about that diversity here is our Skyterra plate. I think that would be a cool thing to mention.
I love it because, there's the food guide pyramid and there's the plate method, but the Skyterra plate's actually pretty and easy to remember. But we have half vegetables, half your plate's vegetables, a quarter is protein, a quarter starch. But in the middle is this beautiful star of fat. And I love that because fat helps us absorb vitamins, and it's touching all the different foods, which is how it works in our body as well. And it's an easy plate to remember.
Yeah, it's a really cool diagram. And of course, fluid is just right off to
there.
the side.
Yeah, touching the plate. Yeah,
exactly. That's awesome. Any last thoughts, Jeannie, for our listeners on this whole subject of nutrition and how to live forever?
Don't stop taking care of yourself. You matter.
Yep.
And you have the power in just the foods that you put in your mouth. Like so much power. So use it.
Yep. And I know you help our guests here every week with that. I appreciate that. So, listeners, if you have any questions for Jeannie, please shoot us an email at Inspired Intentions. You guys know the email address, inspiredintentions@skyterrawellness.com. This is part number 2. We have part number 3 coming out next week. And that part number 3 is going to be more related to some mindfulness, just maybe a different version of mindfulness than what we talked about with nutrition, but very important, and we look forward to having you all back then. Jeannie, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeannie and I have already been brainstorming some other stuff we could talk about nutritionally. So again, if there's something you want to hear about, don't hesitate to shoot us an email. We can make a podcast about it.
Yeah, it would be fun.
Cool. Thank you again.
Thank you.
The Inspired Intentions podcast is a production of Skyterra Wellness Retreat. Special thanks to our executive producer, Alan Broyhill. Send us your questions and comments to inspiredintentions@skyterrawellness.com. Subscribe on iTunes and everywhere podcasts can be found. If someone you know might benefit from this podcast, share Inspired Intentions with them and give us a 5-star rating. Join us next week as we cut through the unrealistic noise on diets and fitness and show you how healthy living fits seamlessly into your already busy life. Thanks for listening.